The market was loud, people walked fast, the smell of food and smoke was everywhere. Children laughed and sellers shouted prices. The air was heavy with dust and noise. Then the sound changed, a sudden silence came. Eyes turned to the center of the street. A girl stood there. Her body was weak and trembling. Her skin was strange and pale with a silver glow. She was naked and covered with wounds. Her eyes were wide like she had seen fire. Her steps were slow like she carried mountains on her back. Crowd moved back at first. Mothers pulled children away. Men raised hands and pointed. Someone shouted monster. Another voice said demon. Fear filled the air. Then anger replaced fear. A man threw an apple at her. It hit her shoulder. She did not react. She just looked down. More things flew, rotten food, stones, garbage, laughter, mixed with hate. The sound was cruel like knives in the wind. She tried to cover her body with her hands, but she was too weak. Her legs shook. She fell on her knees in the dirt. The market roared with voices. Some shouted kill it. Some shouted burn it. The smell of fear and hate was strong. Among the crowd stood a man. His name was David. He wore simple clothes. His hands were rough from work, but his eyes were different. He watched the girl shiver in the dust. He felt something break inside his chest. He heard the cruel voices. He saw the stones flying, but he could not move at first. His legs felt heavy. Another stone hit her head. Blood ran down her face. Still she did not cry. She only looked up at the sky. Her lips moved, but no words came. Her eyes were not angry. Her eyes were not violent. Her eyes were just sad. That sadness cut deep into David like a blade. The crowd pushed forward. A man with a stick raised it high. David moved then. He stepped forward fast. His voice broke the noise. Stop! The man with the stick froze. The crowd stared at David. Some laughed. Some shouted at him, get out of the way. She is not human. She is danger. David did not move back. He stood before her. His body shielded her. His arms wide. His voice strong though his heart raced. No more. She is hurt. She is weak. You will not touch her again. The crowd shouted louder. Traitor, enemy, lover, fool. Spit flew in his direction. Garbage landed near his feet. Still he did not move. He looked down at the girl. Her eyes met his. They were full of pain and something else, something like hope. He bent down. His hands touched her arm. Her skin was cold like winter stone. She did not pull away. She let him hold her. David lifted her slowly. She was light like a feather. Her body shook against his chest. The crowd roared again. Hands reached out to stop him. One man grabbed his shirt. David pushed him away. He moved forward step by step. The crowd pressed around him, but his eyes burned with fire. He would not stop. Voices filled the air. You will die with her. You bring curse on us. Leave her, leave her. But David kept walking, his back straight, his arms tight around the fragile girl. Her head rested on his shoulder. Her eyes closed. Her breath was soft and weak. A stone hit his back. Another cut his cheek. Pain burned, but he did not stop. He only walked faster. The crowd followed, shouting. Some threw more, some cursed him, but none dared to strike harder. Something in his eyes warned them. Something in his steps told them he was ready to fight all of them. Finally he turned a corner. The noise grew faint. He reached a narrow street. The houses were old and broken. The girl in his arms whispered. It was so soft. He almost missed it. Help, just one word. Her voice cracked like broken glass. David felt tears in his own eyes. He nodded though she could not see. You are safe now. I will not leave you. He carried her into the shadows. The market still roared behind them, but ahead was silence. He did not know what danger waited. He did not know why she came. He only knew one thing. He could not let her die like an animal in the dust. Not while he still had breath. And so the story began. One man against the crowd. One human heart against the storm of hate. The path ahead was dark, but the choice was made. The night was heavy. The moon hid behind clouds. David carried the girl through the narrow streets. Her breath was weak and shallow. Her skin felt colder with every step. He pushed open the door of his small house. The wood creaked like it might break. Inside was dark and silent. He laid her gently on the old bed. She shivered. Her hands clutched the blanket he placed over her. Her eyes opened for a moment. They glowed faint in the dim light, like stars trapped in her face. She whispered again, safe. Then her eyes closed and she fell into sleep. David sat by her side. His hands trembled, his heart raced. The faces of the crowd burned in his memory. Their hate was sharp, their voices still echoed in his ears. He asked himself why he had stepped forward, why he had risked everything, but deep inside he knew. Because no one else would. Because she was alone and broken and did not deserve cruelty outside. His window whispers grew. Neighbors had seen him. They had seen the way he carried her. Voices in the street spoke of betrayal. He shelters the alien. He defends the enemy. He has lost his mind soon. Fists pounded his door. Open up, give her to us. Law will punish you. You cannot hide her. David stood firm. His body blocked the door. He shouted back. She is hurt. She's no threat. Leave us alone. The voices grew louder. Hands slammed against the wood. Stones clattered against the walls. A window shattered. But David did not move. His arms braced the door. His eyes burned with defiance. Behind him the girl stirred. Her voice was soft like wind through broken glass. Why help me? They hate me. Why not hate me too? David turned to her, his voice low but steady. Because you are alive, because you suffer, because someone must stand against cruelty. Her eyes widened. She stared at him as if searching his soul. Tears slipped down her pale cheeks. She whispered, thank you. Pounding on the door grew harder. One voice shouted, if you do not hand her over, we will drag you out. Another shouted, you are no longer one of us. You are cursed. David felt fear, but he did not step aside. He looked back at the girl, her small body curled under the blanket. She looked fragile, like glass about to break. He clenched his fists. He shouted through the door, do what you want to me, but I will not give her to you. There was silence for a moment. Then laughter filled the street, cold and cruel. They said, we will return with soldiers. You cannot hide forever. The sound of retreating steps echoed into the night. David locked the door tight. He sat back down near the girl. His chest rose and fell fast. But inside he felt calm now. He had chosen his side. Asterisk. The line was drawn. There was no turning back. Hours passed. The girl opened her eyes again. She tried to sit up, but pain twisted her body. David helped her. He gave her water. She drank slowly. Her lips trembled. Her voice was weak but clearer than before. My name is not like yours. You cannot say it, but you can call me Lyra. David nodded. Lyra. She gave a faint smile, the first he had seen. It lit her broken face with strange beauty. She looked around his small home. It was simple with few things, but her eyes softened. Safe place. She whispered, safe. David asked her, why were you there? Why did you come? Lyra lowered her eyes. Her voice shook. I was running chased. My people are gone. I am the last who escaped. Her words cut deep into him. He did not know if she spoke truth, but the pain in her eyes was real. He reached for her hand. It was cold, but she did not pull away. You are not alone anymore, he said. You are with me now outside. The night grew quiet, but David knew it was only a pause. Whispers would spread. Soldiers would come. The town would not forgive. He was marked now. He had defied them, and they would not forget. Still, as he looked at Lyra, as he saw her eyes filled with fragile hope, he felt something strong rise in him. He would not bow. He would not let them take her. Even if the whole world stood against him, he had chosen to defy, and so the night ended not with peace, but with a fire inside one man. A fire that would soon be tested. A fire that might burn the whole town. Morning light crept through the cracks of the old window. The sound of birds filled the silence outside. But inside the small house the air was heavy. David sat by Lyra as she slept. Her face pale, her body weak, yet her breath was steady now. She looked less like a broken shadow and more like a living soul. David rose and fetched water from the corner jug. He placed it near her bed. When she woke, her eyes opened slowly. She looked around as if not sure where she was. Her gaze settled on him, and for the first time she did not look afraid. She whispered softly, "You stayed." David nodded. "I said I would." Lyra tried to sit, but her body failed. David helped her up. Her hands shook, but she managed to hold the cup. She sipped water slowly. Her lips trembled as she swallowed. Then she looked at him with eyes full of unspoken questions. "Why do they hate me?" she asked. "What did I do?" David looked away. His hands clenched. "You did nothing. But fear makes them blind. They see only an enemy, not a life." Her eyes filled with tears. She turned her face down. David placed a hand on her shoulder. "You are safe here." She looked back at him, her voice soft. Safe. The word carried a fragile warmth. Outside, the streets grew busy. Whispers spread faster than wind. They said the man hides the alien girl. They said he has lost his soul. They said he must be punished. Rumors spread like fire, and with them came danger. That night David lit a small lamp. Lyra sat near the fire, wrapped in an old blanket. She spoke slowly, her words broken but clear. "My people did not come for war. We came for help. Our world is dying. Our bodies cannot survive. We needed friends, but they hunted us. They called us invaders. They destroyed us." Her voice cracked. Her eyes closed in pain. David listened in silence, his chest heavy with anger at the cruelty. He said softly, "You are not my enemy. Not now, not ever." Lyra opened her eyes. She stared at him, as if his words were something she had never heard before. Her lips moved in a faint smile, her first true smile. It lit the room brighter than the lamp. Days passed. David cared for her wounds. He gave her food. Though he had little, he wrapped her in warm clothes. The winter air crept through the cracks. Slowly her strength returned. Slowly her fear faded. And something new grew between them, a bond silent but strong. At night, they talked. She asked about the stars. He told her stories of the sky. She asked about the sea. He told her of waves he once saw as a child. Her eyes widened like a child hearing magic, and for those moments she forgot her pain. Outside, danger grew louder. Children whispered. In alleys, men watched David with cold eyes. Mothers pulled their sons away when he walked past. The shadow of the crowd stretched closer. Each day one evening, soldiers came. 3 men in black uniforms. They knocked on his door with heavy fists. David opened, but did not step aside. They looked inside and saw the faint glow of the lamp. They asked, "Where is she?" "Give her to us. The law demands it." David stood tall, his voice calm but firm. "There is no law in cruelty. There is no justice in hate." The soldiers scowled. One raised his hand to strike him, but David did not move behind him. Lyra whispered his name, her voice trembling. He felt her fear like fire in his chest. The soldiers warned, "If you resist, you will be punished. The whole town will turn against you." David answered, "Then let them, but she stays with me." Soldiers left with threats on their lips. The crowd outside hissed and cursed as they walked away. But David knew they would return. He knew the storm was only beginning. That night Lyra wept. She said through tears, "I should leave. If I stay, you will suffer. They will destroy you because of me." David shook his head, his voice strong though his heart ached. "If you go, they will kill you. If you stay, they may kill me. But I choose this. I choose to stand." Her tears fell faster. She whispered, Why choose me?" David answered without pause. "Because you are alive, because you deserve to live." The fire crackled. Silence filled the room. Then she reached out and touched his hand, her fingers cold but steady. She said softly, "You are different, different from them." David looked into her eyes, and for the first time he saw no fear, only trust. Outside, the wind howled. The town gathered whispers and sharpened its hate. The soldiers prepared their return. But inside that small house a bond was sealed, a bond that would defy the world. The morning broke with a heavy sky. Dark clouds gathered over the town. The air smelled of rain and smoke. David stepped outside for water. He felt the eyes of neighbors on him, cold and sharp like knives. They whispered his name with poison on their tongues. They said he was lost. They said he had betrayed them all when he returned inside. Lyra was awake. She sat near the lamp, her hands folded tight, her eyes searched his face. She asked softly, "They hate you because of me?" David shook his head. "They hate because they fear, and I will not join their fear." But he knew danger was near. The whispers were louder each hour. The soldiers would return not in threes, but in numbers. They would come with chains and fire, and they would not only take her, they would destroy him too. That evening the storm came, thunder shook the ground. Lightning tore the sky into pieces. The sound of boots marched through the rain, voices shouted his name. The soldiers had returned, dozens this time, and behind them the crowd, faces twisted with hate, hands gripping stones and sticks. David barred the door. Lyra trembled beside him. Her voice shook. "They will kill you. They will kill me." David held her hand. "Not if I can stand. Not while I still breathe." The pounding on the door shook the house. The wood cracked under heavy fists. The soldiers shouted, "Open now, give her to us, or we burn you alive." The crowd roared behind them, "Burn, burn, burn." David looked at Lyra, her eyes wide with fear and sorrow. She whispered, "Please let me go. I do not want your death." He shook his head. "No, you stay. You live." The door shook again. Splinters flew. Rain poured through the broken window. The soldiers pushed harder. David's heart raced. He grabbed a heavy stick from the floor, his body ready though his arms shook with fear. Then Lyra spoke again, her voice stronger this time. "You do not understand. We did not come to fight. We came because our son is dying. Our homes are ash. Our children starve. We reached for help, and your people answered with fire." She raised her hand. A faint glow filled the room. Not fire, not weapon, but light, soft and sad. It painted the walls like morning sun. David stared in silence. Her face lit with sorrow. Her voice broke. "We came to beg for life, and they destroyed us." Tears filled David's eyes. The pounding on the door grew louder, but he only heard her words. He said softly, "Then I will help you, even if I stand alone." The door burst open. Soldiers stormed inside, their armor wet with rain, their eyes full of hate. They pointed spears at David. "Stand aside," they ordered. "This is your last chance." David stood tall, his stick raised, his voice firm. "No, she stays." The soldiers lunged. David swung hard. The stick cracked against a helmet. One soldier fell. The crowd outside screamed with rage. The soldiers surged forward again. They knocked him down, their boots pressed on his chest. Pain burned through him, but still he shouted, "She is not your enemy. She came for help. You blind fools." The soldiers raised their weapons. Lyra cried out. Her glow grew brighter. The soldiers stepped back in fear. The light filled the small house. The crowd outside gasped. Some shouted, "Demon." Others shouted, "Angel." None dared step inside. Lyra bent beside David. Her tears fell on his face. Her voice trembled. "I cannot let you die for me," he whispered back. "If I die, it is for something true." The soldiers regrouped. They shouted for fire. Torches were thrown through. The window flames licked the wood. Smoke filled the air. The crowd outside cheered. "Burn, burn." David coughed. The heat pressed on him, but his grip on Lyra's hand did not loosen. He pulled her toward the back door through smoke and flame. They broke into the night rain. The soldiers gave chase. The crowd howled behind them. Stones flew through the storm. David ran through the muddy streets. His lungs burned. Lyra stumbled, but he held her tight. Every shadow hid danger. Every corner echoed with shouts, but he did not stop. He would not let go. At last they reached the fields outside town. The rain poured heavy. The sky cracked with thunder behind them. Torches burned in the night. Voices shouted his name. The hunt was not over. It had only begun. David looked at Lyra, her face pale, her body weak, but her eyes glowed with that strange light. He said, breathless, "We keep moving. We do not stop." She nodded, faint but determined. Her voice broke the storm together, and so they fled into the darkness, chased by soldiers and hate, one man and one alien girl, running not just for life but for truth, for hope, for the last chance of compassion. Fields were wide and wet with rain. Mud pulled at David's boots as he ran. The storm raged above with thunder. Like drums of war, behind him the glow of torches burned brighter. The voices of the crowd and the soldiers carried through the storm. They shouted his name with fury. They shouted for blood. Lyra stumbled again. Her legs weak. David caught her before. She fell. Her breath came sharp and broken. She whispered through the rain, "I cannot keep running. They will catch us." David shook his head. "We keep moving. We do not stop." His voice was firm, but his eyes betrayed the fear inside. At the edge of the field stood an old barn, broken and leaning. David pulled her toward it. They pushed inside. The roof leaked rain. The walls shook with the wind, but it gave shelter for a moment. Lyra sank to the ground. Her hands pressed against her chest. Her light glowed faint. David knelt beside her, his voice soft. "Hold on, just hold on." Her eyes met his. They were filled with sorrow and warmth. She whispered, "Why risk your life for me? Why face them all?" David touched her hand. "Because it is right, because if no one stands, then nothing will change." The shouts grew louder. The torches neared. The soldiers surrounded the barn. Their boots stomped against the wet ground. Their leader shouted, come out and face judgment." David stood. His body shook, but his spirit did not. He pulled Lyra to her feet. Together, they stepped outside into the rain. The crowd gasped at the sight. The alien girl glowing faint beside the man. The soldiers raised their weapons. The crowd roared, "Kill them, burn them." David raised his voice above the storm. His words cut through the hate. "Listen to me. Look at her. She is not a monster. She is not an enemy. She came because her people are dying, and you answer with cruelty. Is this who we are? Is this what it means to be human?" He pointed at them. His voice thundered. "You throw stones at a wounded girl. You burn your own neighbor for showing mercy. You call me traitor. But I tell you the truth. The traitor is the one who kills the innocent. The traitor is the one who lets fear destroy his soul." The crowd stirred. Some faces showed doubt. Some lowered their torches. But the soldiers pressed forward. Their leader shouted, "Enough, kill them both." The order rang like iron. Arrows flew. One struck David in the chest. He staggered back, his breath sharp. Lyra cried out and caught him. Blood spread across his shirt. But still he stood. Still he raised his voice. "If this is the price for compassion, then I pay it gladly." The soldiers charged, but Lyra stepped in front of him. Her light blazed brighter than before. It burst across the field like sunrise. The soldiers froze, shielding their eyes. The crowd fell silent in awe. Her voice rang clear, strong, though her body trembled. "We did not come to conquer. We came to survive. We came to ask for help, and you answered with hate. But one of you stood. One of you saw us as life. Remember him. Remember what he gave." The light faded slowly. David fell to his knees, his breath shallow. His eyes met Lyra's one last time. He whispered, weak but sure, "Live." She held him tight, tears streaming down her face. She whispered back, "I will carry you with me." His eyes closed. His body grew still. The rain fell harder, washing his blood into the earth. The crowd watched in silence. The soldiers lowered their weapons. No one spoke. Lyra stood, her face lit by grief and fire. She raised her hand to the sky. Her glow spread once more, but this time it was gentle. It wrapped around David's still body like a final blessing. Then it faded. She looked at the crowd, her voice steady though her heart was broken. "He gave his life to show you what it means to be human. Not fear, not hate, but courage and compassion. If you cannot see that, then you are already lost." The crowd was silent. Some dropped their torches into the mud. Some turned their faces in shame. The soldiers stood uncertain. The leader opened his mouth, but no words came. Lyra stepped away from them. She walked into the storm alone, her figure glowing faint in the darkness. The people watched her vanish into the night. None followed. None dared. Years later, the story was still told. The story of one man who defied the crowd. The story of David who stood when all others turned away. Children whispered his name with awe. Old men spoke of the night the alien girl shone like the sun. Some said she still lived wandering the stars, carrying his memory as a flame, but all agreed on one truth, that one human heart had dared to stand against cruelty, and in his sacrifice humanity saw itself. Story ended not in hate but in remembrance, not in cruelty but in hope. For one man had proved that even in the darkest storm, the light of compassion could burn brighter than fear. The end.